So child neglect is another form of maltreatment, which is most often unrecognized and unreported because it is not as clear-cut as physical abuse or sexual abuse. However, it results to similar physical, behavioral, and mental health consequences as any other form of maltreatment. So again, good afternoon. Magandang tanghali po sa lahat. And I will discuss now recognizing and responding to neglect in the emergency setting. So this lecture is actually for ideally for frontliners, and the same lecture I delivered to during the Philippine Society of Pediatric Emergency Medicine convention last August 6 to 7 at the Manila Hotel. So at the end of my presentation, you will be able to identify clinical features of child neglect and to properly manage child neglect cases in a multidisciplinary approach at the emergency room. So first, let's us define child neglect. So based on the International Classification of Violence Against Children, they define child neglect as the deliberate, unwanted, and non-essential failure to meet a child's needs, protect a child from danger, or obtain medical, educational, or other services. When those responsible for the child's care have the means, the knowledge, as well as the access to services to do so. As for our law in Republic Act 7610, child neglect is defined as failure to provide for reasons other than poverty, of course, the food, clothing, shelter, education, or medical care, so as to seriously endanger the child's growth and development. So in both definitions, it takes into consideration the social determinants of health, including poverty as a factor in the inability to provide a child's physical or psychological needs. And in a setting where the guardian has the means, the knowledge, as well as the access to provide the child's needs, and yet was still unable to do so, therefore it is child neglect. So there are different types of neglect, also based on the International Classification of Violence Against Children. So here are the types of neglect. There are 5. So for the physical neglect, we are all familiar with this. It is the failure to provide basic necessities, but it also includes what we usually know as supervisory neglect. So failure to protect a child from harm, including through lack of supervision. The other type is the neglect of a child's physical or mental health, but it's quite long. So what this is what we usually know as medical neglect. So wherein there's withholding of proper medical care, failure to provide or allow needed care, and there's also failure to seek timely and appropriate medical care. For psychological neglect, it is the failure to provide adequate nurturing and affection. And more obvious one is the educational neglect, wherein there's failure to secure the child's education. And this one is quite new for us, abandonment of a child. So they now include that under a type of neglect as a form of maltreatment, wherein the parent or the caregiver leaves behind a child with the intention to willingly relinquish parental responsibilities, now included under neglect. So in the survey, conducted among Filipino youth and was published in the 2015 National Baseline Study on Violence Against Children here in the Philippines. As you can see, under physical neglect, about 10% among those 1,000 surveyed reported that they experienced physical neglect. So in this study, they defined physical neglect wherein the child was not given food even if it was available. The child was not being taken care of or even brought to the doctor even when it is needed. The child was not sent to school even if parents can afford or because parents did not take care of the child's school needs. But more than the physical neglect, about 25% reported that they experienced psychological neglect, So they defined that in the study as the child not feeling special or given importance by the parents or the guardian, or feeling unloved, or feelings that child's fears and anxieties are misunderstood by their guardians. So um, mostly recognized or mostly experienced by the Filipino youth as psychological neglect, even physical neglect. However, in our WCPUs in 2024, only about 4% among those seen are reported, or probably the neglect cases were unrecognized by our um, healthcare personnel, hence only 4% are reported. So we have a case of LA, a 16-year-old female from Pasay with a chief complaint of difficulty of breathing. So she already noted with cardiac murmur upon birth, but no desaturations, meaning the oxygen level is normal. Advised pediatric cardiologist consult but was not done. During the interim, the LA was apparently well until 4 months prior to admission. She was noted with productive cough, easy fatigability, and 2 pillow orthopnea. They were able to consult a private pediatrician, completed 1 week of antibiotics, but symptoms still persisted. Until 3 months prior to admission, there's now swelling of the lower extremities. She was eventually hospitalized for bacteremia, and 2D echo showed dextrocardia and pericardial effusion. She was discharged after 2 weeks, but no follow-up was done. So 2 months prior to admission, the swelling of lower extremities recurred. They were now able to consult a pediatric cardiologist, wherein the 2D echo showed a double outlet right ventricle, severe tricuspid regurgitation, and moderate pericardial effusion. Was advised referral to a tertiary hospital. And 1 week prior, her face appeared dusky and the symptoms progressed now with difficulty of breathing. She came at the emergency room in distress with signs of shock. So is this case is this case a neglect or not? So you can type at the chat box, is this case neglect or not? And we've already defined neglect. Mhm. Is this case neglect or not? How about the others? We're about 106 here. Ay, sorry. So, are you sure? Neglect lahat, oh. Neglect. Abroad the Ilog, hello po. APMC, Medical Social Work. Dr. Jose Rizal po, MH. Chinese General Hospital, hello everyone. Wow. Narinig niyo na po ba itong lecture before? Okay. Sure po yung lahat. Ay, what's that? Okay. Some neglect. Okay. But how sure are you that the family have the means? Or the family or at least the parents do they have the knowledge and even access to health services? Okay. So someone mentioned a time between advice to seek help sa tertiary hospital at one ay napakahabang panahon. So they consider it now as neglect. Okay. 1 week. At 1 week. Okay. But um, what do you think are the reasons why there's a delay in seeking care? Because they were advised at birth to seek cardio consult, and it took about 16 years to consult a specialist. Mhm. So let us see, since birth they were already advised but was not done. Mhm. So what do you think is the family's reason? Ayan. So when our residents asked why, from at birth up to 4 months prior, according to the caregiver, ayan, since patient appeared well and normal, so no reason to consult. They didn't see the need to consult since the child was asymptomatic or no symptoms felt at the time. However, 3 months prior to admission, after the first hospitalization, they did not follow up because the family was afraid of another hospitalization. And then 2 months prior to admission, the family decided to postpone because of their previous hospital experience. So what do you think happened during the hospitalization na na-traumatize po yung family magpa-admit ulit? Okay. But still, given these reasons, is this neglect or not? And what type of neglect? I think I saw some answers at the chat box. Yes, at this point, we can say it's already medical neglect. It can be considered, but still the given information is limited. Ayan. So in the chat box, your inputs included probably financial reasons, negative experience, and even access to level 3 health services. So we're not entirely sure. We're only given the information that the family came from Pasay. So according to the American Academy of Pediatrics, 5 factors are necessary to diagnose medical neglect. So first, the child is harmed or is at risk for harm because of the lack of the health care. Second, the recommended health care offers significant net benefit to the child. Third, that the benefit of treatment is significantly greater than its morbidity or more beneficial than the consequences if the appropriate healthcare was not provided. Fourth, the access to healthcare is available but was not used. And lastly, the fifth factor that the caregiver understands the medical advice given. So in the case of LA, it's obvious that 1, 2, 3 are met. But how about for number 4? Number 4, access to healthcare is available but was not used. So probably they have access since they were able to consult a private pediatrician at the onset, right? And she was also hospitalized eventually. And but for number 5, the caregiver understands the medical advice given. Somehow, right? We are not entirely sure yet. Okay. So I can see your reasoning as well at the chat box. Yes, they were able to consult a private physician at 4 months prior to admission. So these are the common reasons that families fail to seek appropriate medical care for their children. So medical neglect is often multifactorial and it can include societal barriers, just like what you said, access to healthcare. Parental factors as well, such as low health literacy, poor health seeking behavior, child factors such as fear of medications, that's going to be difficult, especially among chronically ill teenagers. Healthcare provider factors, that includes lack of cultural sensitivity, poor communication skills, and I think you can relate to this one. The last factor under the healthcare provider factors, inadequate time to explain the illness and the medical needs, even the importance of follow-up care, even the the reason behind the importance of the medicines, para saan po yung mga gamot na nireseta. So the caregiver or should understand all of these information that should be provided by the healthcare personnel. Okay. So important during an evaluation for neglect is to assess the risk and protective factors, as well as an observation, one of the caregiver, second observation of the child, and third is the caregiver and child interaction. So more so, these factors will also help us in identifying appropriate necessary interventions. So we are all familiar with the ecological model of the child maltreatment. And this is also based identifying the risk factors in a child, in the caregiver or family, and the environment as well as in the society. So let us take a look at the child. So of course, multiple studies have shown that children with disability and chronic illness, they are at high risk for neglect. Okay. So there are also risk and protective factors enumerated in the screen for the caregiver, the family, and environment. And these factors can be elicited when you do your ancillary history for your pediatric patients. Okay. So multiple forms of child maltreatment often coexist, and children who experience neglect frequently also experience other types of neglect or other types of maltreatment. It can be physical abuse, sexual abuse, or emotional abuse. So in the past medical history, make sure to ask about previous hospitalizations. It can present as an accidental incident, but that's already a clue if this child is high risk for neglect or probably physical abuse. So previous hospitalizations due to accidents such as fall, burn, or even ingestion. For chronically ill children, ask for their adherence to medical care, compliance to follow-up schedules, and even to home medications. So make sure to document who is the informant. So better to get information from the primary caregiver or guardian because sometimes our bedside watchers, right? They are sometimes other relatives who are available at that time. So make sure to ask at home who is the primary caregiver and get as much information from them. Interview the child separately from the guardian so as to obtain more reliable information. In the emergency room setting, so it is not feasible to gather all of this information. So screening of risk factors should focus on those that are associated with serious physical abuse and neglect. So based on our references, those highlighted in red font, those are the risk factors associated with serious physical abuse and neglect. Mainly the presence of a mental health illness of a caregiver. Okay? And then criminal history or even substance misuse of the caregiver. You were able to note illicit information or even observe negative caregiver-child interactions, presence of domestic violence, and a prior history wherein the child was previously placed in a shelter or the case of the child was already previously reported to social services, LSWD or DSWD. So any concern for child neglect warrants a thorough, complete head-to-toe examination. Remember, neglect commonly coexists with other forms of maltreatment. Hence, you need to check for signs of abuse with specific attention to the following. So, check the hygiene and clothing. And then, of course, the nutritional status of the child, head circumference, weight for height, and BMI. Hair loss can also be secondary to malnutrition, as well as dental caries, abscesses, with special focus on the skin and nails, presence of multiple scars from past injuries that could be a sign for physical abuse as well, or even neglect. Unmanaged infections of scabies, impetigo, or abscess. Skin ulcers or the cubitus ulcers for children with limited mobility or chronic illnesses. A markedly severe diaper dermatitis, signs of malnutrition on the nails, and of course, multiple or pattern bruises on non-bony prominences that can also be a sign for physical abuse. So in managing child neglect cases in an emergency setting, of course, stabilize the patient first. And once you have considered the diagnosis of child neglect, refer to your hospital social worker for a comprehensive psychosocial assessment. So this is conducted by a social worker and the following information are gathered. So it still enumerates the risk and protective factors of neglect. So all of this information are gathered during the intake and immediate safety assessment of our social workers. So that also includes the family's living situation, level of education of our caregivers, so that already somehow gives us an idea of the health literacy and poor or the health seeking behavior of the caregiver, the history and employment status, the family's dynamic inside the home, even their coping skills, mental health history, substance use, family finances, support system, history of referral to CPU, WCP, or even to DSWD or LSWD, and the overall safety of the child. So for our frontliners and healthcare personnel, make sure to coordinate and discuss with your social worker, even if it's in the emergency room. So when there is harm to the child, interventions have already been attempted. However, these interventions failed, and there is concern for other types of abuse. Or overall, if the child neglect is suspected, or you are still unsure of the child neglect diagnosis, so you must refer to your hospital or your local child protection unit or WCPU for further evaluation and management. And also, you need to report to local social welfare and development office. Because we are mandatory reporters, right? Okay. So physicians, nurses, and head of hospital or clinics are mandatory reporters. So even if it is suspected case of abuse or neglect, we are mandated to report to the LSWDO or the SWD within 48 hours. So as you can see here in the flow chart, so this is from the revised protocol for case management of child abuse, neglect, exploitation, and discrimination of children. So this is from the Committee for Special Protection of Children. This is a very recent protocol. As you can see, management is multidisciplinary, wherein social workers, physicians, even law enforcement, if their involvement is necessary, they have to work together to evaluate and provide interventions. So I just want to emphasize the role of the multidisciplinary team in assessing and ensuring the safety of the child. So if the child is not safe to go home, safety measures are needed and can include protective custody. So even if a legal complaint is filed or not, the multidisciplinary team should deliver appropriate services to the child and to the family. So managing suspected cases of neglect at the emergency room, of course, number one, ensure child safety. The child may warrant hospitalization if the caregiver and even the temporary placements are unavailable. So there should be a hospital protocol wherein this type of emergencies should still be provided care and services. The child is not safe to be discharged to the caregiver. So of course, you have to look for a protective guardian or shelter. And even if neglect is also for neglect, if it's already chronic and it imposes imminent risk of harm to the child, so hospitalization of these patients are warranted. Partnership with caregivers is crucial in managing child neglect. So make sure that you engage the caregiver rather than prosecute them. So the treatment plan and education should be provided to the caregiver at the knowledge and literacy level of the caregiver. So make sure that your home instructions are simple, practical. Sometimes they require written instructions, especially for chronically ill or the child has plenty of comorbidities. Okay? So explain the indications when to bring back to the emergency room and provide a specific follow-up date. And to address the needs of the child, caregiver, and family, they should be linked to appropriate resources, which can include nutritional programs, medical or transportation assistances in their LGU, even the 4-piece program, facilitation of PWD-ID application, parenting program, support network, and other social services. Consider approaching neglect as a symptom to which underlying cause should be sought. So in this table, for example, in the case of LA, our concern is primarily multiple missed health appointments or even delayed presentation for medical concerns. So that also includes medical non-adherence. So what were the contributing factors wherein the child was not immediately brought to the hospital? Applicable for the family or for LA? They have the means, right? They can afford consulting a private pediatrician. So most probably, the prior trauma or distrust in the medical system, health literacy concerns as well. We're not entirely sure regarding the behavioral difficulties in the child, wherein probably the child was also traumatized during the first hospitalization. So what were the suggestions to address these contributing factors? Engaging other family members or even their support network to facilitate or to encourage them to follow the advised medical instructions, educating the children and the caregiver, and assessing the caregiving capacity. Mhm. So that would include engaging social workers, community resources, or ongoing education for the family. Okay. However, so in this study, when they noted when there is a repeated pattern of behaviors, you've already, for example, there's the first hospitalization and you've provided all the interventions and services, but the family still repeats their behavior, neglectful behavior, and there's resistance to education or social interventions, then we consider maltreatment already for that case. Neglect is a complex interplay of multiple factors within the child, the family, even socioeconomic and environmental factors. Hence, it requires multidisciplinary evaluation and management. So the goal is to mitigate the risk factors and to strengthen the protective factors. And the primary principle we all know in child protection is always for the best interest of the child. So thank you everyone for listening.